All right, so I think we're live. We'll find out today. We're going to dive into NFTs, kind of the future of where NFTs are going. We'll take a look at a project that I think is one to watch and also give you a breakdown on some of the high performers in the NFT space from our CPI. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. Thank you guys for being so patient on our last few live streams because we've had some internet difficulties. I promise it was not a SEC raid. And in the sense of hopefully holding a stream today as we fight with our internet provider and our asynchronous upload capability, and what all that needs to be done for running a live stream daily is a bit of a challenge, but hey, we're gonna get through it. And you know, hey, this is TechPath. I mean, tech only works when it doesn't, and then it does. So hopefully it's gonna hold today. Listen, before we get started though, make sure and check out the Audius video. We just had their co-founder, on the show today. We dropped a video. If you guys have watched Audius before, or maybe you're in the Audius token, what they're trying to do in the space of streaming and also just for content creators when it comes to music is pretty special. And we really went into a good detail with them. So check out that video before we get started. Also, a big shout out to our sponsor today, and that is GameStarter. They've got a lot of new projects happening and a lot of things happening as well, including their Play to Immerse, which is the next big thing in blockchain gaming. If you don't follow a lot of these game companies in their blog post, I would recommend to, when you're on CoinMarketCap or you're on CoinGecko, go over and follow the links in the community tabs, because that is where you'll find just an unbelievable amount of information. But they've introduced a new concept of blockchain gaming called Play to Immerse, P2I. This is a unique model that leverages the vast gaming communities and guilds and rewards the most active players for their in-game and off-game actions. What I think they're trying to do here is really kind of evolve into something more than just play to earn and or play and earn. I think what GameStarter is trying to do is really kind of revolutionize what is going to happen in the blockchain space. A lot of things within them. Their last tweet right here: get ready for 10 weeks of game-changing announcements. Stepping into 2022 full force. Have a huge pile of major news. Can't wait to share. And of course, this is all about the 10 weeks of gaming announcements that they're rolling out in this whole approach. The other thing too, if there's a couple of projects that they have, and I'll go to their website here in a second just to give you guys some insights on this, but Dark Frontiers and PixelPick are two of the projects that we've looked at before. And of course, right here, you've got it. They're announcing the brand new concept on P2I. And of course, the whole point is rewarding active players for their in-game and off-game actions. So just follow them on Twitter, check out their Discord, go into their website and learn a little bit more about what they're trying to do here, because I think this is maybe what could be the future of where blockchain gaming is going. So let's get into it today. And that is talking about this whole valuation around the NFT industry. And one of the things that I've talked about here on the show quite a bit is just how big is Metaverse, NFTs, blockchain gaming, play to earn in general. And when you look at the market itself, there's a lot of things that are happening around blockchain gaming and Metaverse that really lean into mostly entertainment and gaming. Not that that's a bad thing. I think those two markets are going to be huge in both Metaverse and also in play-to-earn gaming. Where it starts to separate in terms of kind of the killer app of all of what's happening within blockchain right now is the NFT. And the NFT is one of those, it's basically become an instrument that can do so much more than just become a digital asset that you can gain value on from something like an animated JPEG or a regular traditional NFT, even to a certain level, an NFT with utility. The function and the opportunity for NFTs is much greater than Metaverse and gaming, and I'll dive into each one of those. Here's a story right here from CoinDesk. This is, of course, Jeffrey's big analyst, sees the NFT market reaching more than 80 billion in value in 2025. This is kind of interesting to me. It kind of actually made me chuckle a little bit around this topic. I think one, it was probably either misconstrued or this analyst didn't really look into the entire depth of what NFT capabilities are and what that might mean for the future. I've been studying tech for 2.5 decades, and we've been able to understand growth segments, where growth explosions would happen. And when I look at blockchain, NFT is one of the areas that I believe is really underserved right now. Remember though, 2021 was really its coming out period. So you can't gain or really blame too many people too much of understanding where the NFT market could go, because it's just so new and what it might be showing. But basically what they're saying is the bank raised its market cap forecast from 35 billion in 2022 and expects it's a double-digit percentage growth over the next 5 years to 80 billion, which is a pretty good, a pretty good run. But I think they are way off in terms of the overall amount of where it goes. And I want to look at the marketplaces real quick. When you look at the NFT marketplaces, let's just go down and take a look at the 30-day volume on the marketplaces. So right now you've got 15.5 billion on LooksRare, 4.5 billion in OpenSea, Magic Eden holding on at basically a quarter of a billion, 256 million, 135 million right there on CryptoPunks. Axie is holding on at 109 million. NBA Top Shot, 55 million. Then Blocto Bay, then Mobox at 33, Atomic Market holding on at 31 million. So you can kind of see right here, this quickly gets into just the 30-day volume of what we're seeing in what is the known universe for NFTs today. In essence, what I'm saying is the gaming NFTs, digital assets, and of course the art that is being utilized on a lot of these marketplaces. That's really kind of where most people look at NFTs today, and what that might mean for the future, I think, is just a small tip of the iceberg of where NFTs are going. And we're going to dive into all that and kind of give you guys a rundown on each one of these. Here's another piece right here, NFT sales to hit 25 billion in right there, 2021, but growth shows signs of slowing. Now this one is what was intriguing to me. This was an article that was done in early January, and I felt like this was just one of those things where another writer that is really going into this has not done their research and definitely has not understood the scalability and the potential of this sector. So even though January they were saying, hey, we think this is going to slow, in fact, we're seeing NFTs maybe accelerate. Now here's the big question, and this might be a good poll to put up, is do you think NFTs are going to have a life expectancy in this bull run? What I mean by that is, do you think we'll see NFT value and NFT use case fall off when the bear market starts to come? Or do you think they'll truck on through and continue to stabilize and possibly still perform? So love to get your feedback on that, whether or not you think NFTs will hold during the bear market or not. I'm kind of curious. Another story here that really gets into kind of the reason that I think NFTs are unique are the companies and the projects that start to evolve out of them. And this is just one of the projects that I've been watching very closely, and this of course is Phantasma. This project, you probably know it as Soul. It's basically kind of chasing an element of not only really high performance in terms of what it's done in the overall valuation of the token, but really the evolution of what they are trying to do as a project. And this whole idea around smart NFTs and the evolution of what Soul is trying to do is pretty cool. I want to look at this statement right here. One project that's making moves, Phantasma, layer 1 blockchain. Finally, there that shows up. Sometimes that does not show up. Smart NFTs and decentralized gaming applications. Obviously, its price is reflecting that. We've continued to see this fly up the charts. And in fact, Soul is in our top 20. In fact, it made it into the top 20 of our CPI, which is our crypto power index. I'll show you that here in a second. For the first time. And this is, to me, starting to break out into where Soul is potentially on a good place in terms of the development, the partnerships they're looking at creating, and also just the technology in which they're trying to one-up the next layer of smart NFTs. And we had another conversation with the Clayton, one of the tech leads with Clayton today, and he said something that was very interesting to me. And we'll drop the video later this week, but one thing he talked about was dynamic NFTs inside platforms. So think about an NFT as you know it today. It's a smart contract, non-fungible, pretty much locks in the metadata And that's kind of the current status of NFTs. The smart NFTs, or maybe dynamic NFTs, are going to be NFTs that essentially start to gain value inside ecosystems. So if you imagine an NFT utilized in maybe Sandbox and other ecosystems, but when you're in one ecosystem, certain things are added to that NFT in terms of power, value, all sorts of aspects, maybe even ownership, that essentially change inside the ecosystem itself. And when you leave the ecosystem, that metadata potentially would stay there, but every time you're back, it attaches automatically back to that NFT. So this is where we get into these smart NFTs. Now, the reason that's important, because this obviously could work in games, this will work in the metaverse, both for e-commerce, for the potential for entertainment, aspects of maybe even ownership on land, all those kind of things that really kind of start to develop and build value in where we see this going. So I think this is going to be something that we've got to keep a really close eye on where Phantasma is going. And one thing that they did talk about right here, this was a tweet that they put out here recently. Excited to be working with DS Official. In case you don't know this is a car company out of France, to bring the ABB Formula E derived technology into the metaverse. So this is a real world automobile company that's starting to work with companies to essentially transition data and also maybe driving experiences into the metaverse. So I think of it as your automobile also is your game vehicle inside of a metaverse. So how that could potentially give you additional experience level, because I think Tesla should be doing something like this. But anyway, they're doing this through a thing called Pavilion Hub. And let me just jump to that real quick. Pavilion Hub is, and this is their kind of their release right here. If we can load that up, see there are a beautiful internet, just the spinning wheels of internet death coming at us. But the point is that they've started to really work with a variety of game developers. Here's the DS automobiles, where we're going to see in real life, automobile aspects into this, along with other components around racing, which I think will be a lot of the racing games themselves. You can kind of see just some of the things that they're really starting to flow into. This is the overall aspect of this. I think this is where it's going to get really intriguing to me, is how companies and projects like Phantasma start to use smart NFTs to bridge the in real life experience to the metaverse and to gaming experiences. So that's, remember, we talked earlier about this is just a small portion of what could be the future of where NFTs are going. And I'll talk to you about where the other rest of the market could be leaning in to NFTs as well. And before we get started, going on that direction, I wanted to kind of just show you guys a little bit about where Phantasma has been over the last 30 days. This is where this project was around 350. Mid-January had the slump during the Bitcoin bump. And then, of course, we've seen this thing start to really perform and come out. So it may be in a good position based on sentiment data that we're pulling in the top 20. This is one of them that we're watching very closely. So I'm really intrigued about how this is going. Let me jump over to the blockchain gaming sentiment. Just a quick rundown here. You can kind of see Phantasma. Let's see, where were they? Right there at number 17, so holding it at 74.28 and a 71.82 on amplification. Again, making it into our CPI for the first time. So this is, to me, really starts to show a lot of people getting behind these kinds of projects and really understanding what maybe the future of NFTs can be. Let's take a look at the poll, though. I'm kind of curious on how you guys feel about this. All right, so do you currently hold any Phantasma Soul token? Nobody. All right, well then there we go, guys. This is your chance. This is going to be a chance to maybe jump in on these. If you look at our top 20 on gaming, you can kind of see our, let me give you the sneak peek here. Gala came in at number 1. Axie was holding number 2. Sandbox number 3. Notice Gala, though, overperforming right there on amplification, so that's a pretty cool sign. Decentral also in our top 4, and then rounding out the top 5 was Mobox. We had Wax P coming in, Illuvium, UFO, Atari, and Avagachi also made top 10. Vulcan, Merit Circle, D-Race holding in pretty tightly, and then Veracity makes a big showing. Ultra OS also still holding in our top 20. Star Atlas, the DAO, this is Polis, the exchange token. And then Cetify starting to move up a lot. And then there was Phantasma, Chain Guardians, and Star Atlas the regular game itself. So Star Atlas making some good moves there. And all of these projects were in fairly good movement, but we are seeing some of these. And again, this is something that that I probably should explain to you guys when you're reading the CPI. If you're a CPI member, I'm going to give you a trick. One thing you want to be looking at when you're looking at the charts themselves, and we'll just use this chart right here. Anytime that you see the amplification starting to nest in next to where sentiment is holding, this usually indicates we're going to see movement in the token. We've seen this time in, time out. I'd say we've been 70 to 80% correct in our data analysis around these kinds of scenarios where you see a little bit softer things like right now Axie, even though Axie has had a really good move, but the current amplification is a little bit softer on Axie. But if you look at some of these others like Avagachi holding here, there's another one right there with Vulcan. Here's one right here with Chain Guardians, which is overperforming. These are the ones that I look at. And again, not financial advice. We'll do these market movers for you guys. And the concept is real simple. We basically break down data. We'll give you some insights based on our research and analysis, and hopefully it gets you going in the right direction. But that is one of the things you want to do in being able to analyze these charts that we drop in weekly. And like I showed you before, you're going to have access to the CPI Home, which is our overall arcing amplification and sentiment across all sectors, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Metaverse in general, along with altcoins, the blockchain gaming aspect, and then also we've added in our low cap and also our trending. The trending is something that these are either new on the scene in our index, or they are just showing really good trending movement, but we don't necessarily see them in the top 20. In the top 20, remember, there's almost 8,000 projects that are indexed within the CPI that we're analyzing constantly. And about, gosh, if you look at the number of games, it's anywhere between 100 to 150 new projects every quarter that are coming in of the ones we know right now. So a lot of new projects really kind of coming onto the space. All right, so I want to get into what else could NFTs really be rolling into. And I wanted to show you just an analysis here of the US healthcare industry. And this is 2022 of healthcare sector. And you look at where this is going. We're talking about the global market itself, 1.7, actually it's much larger than that. I was looking at the growth was 1.7 billion by 2027. This was basically what we were seeing in terms of where the potential is going to be. And I want to show you also on the healthcare side. Let's close that out right here. These are some of the key areas around healthcare that we see potential use cases for some of these smart NFTs to be utilized. So right now we're seeing it in games. We're going to see it in the metaverse, but the likelihood of seeing this in the healthcare system is real. And some of the things that they kind of highlighted here, right here on the article was key NFT use cases in healthcare. Lifetime medical record, that's a big one, because if you know anything about healthcare, you know what an EMR is, and that's your electronic medical record. Farm manufacturing, that's going to be for provenance, so understanding that, being able to trace down blood donor, and then of course fitness and health data, which I think is going to play into a lot of the apps and things of that nature. You already see projects like Amidus and even Engine, who's partnered with Health Hero to do that. And then I think where we're going to see this really make a difference is in the health record itself, especially as you start to go in from facility to facility. The potential for an NFT to become your new health record might be a real use case that will be interesting. Another area and sector, NFTs for the hospitality industry. This will be hotels. Now, when you think about hotels, think about tokenizing the use case of all the different facilities within a hotel. Right now, you don't really have that capability. Once a hotel room goes dormant, it becomes a non-producing entity or asset. And that's something that I think that the hospitality industry is going to start trying to figure out of how they can utilize NFTs, maybe for more reservationless applications in hospitality and within hotels, especially in a lot of the luxury hotels. I see this being something that would add to not only the loyalty aspect, but also the frequency in which people might be using that brand over another. So this is going to be pretty interesting. This was one right here. What their main business goal is, you're likely to hear the focus is to increase occupancy rate and to maximize revenue per room, commonly known as RevPAR. And those are the big ones. The other thing is releasing capital fast. This will be another area where they might be able to utilize blockchain and also NFTs to really kind of leverage everything that they're doing within the hotel itself. Funding, maybe going in and doing entertainment projects and selling NFT aspects to that, which would be like in real life utility. Scenarios like that, especially in experiences. Gary Vee has done this with VeeFriends and giving people real use case outside of buying an NFT that is a VeeFriend. You'll actually have access to Gary Vee, his conferences, all those kind of things. So I think hotels could start to move in this direction. Hospitality is another one from the aspect of the restaurant side of things. And what I mean by restaurants is where we could see NFTs both from a reservation standpoint, and that's kind of what Gary Vee, actually back to Gary Vee, he has done in New York with creating NFTs for a restaurant to, in essence, give you a lifetime or however long you own that NFT, access to a certain level of reservation. Now, there's a big problem in the restaurant industry around reservations because the value of a reservation at 7:30 on a Friday night is much greater than the value of a reservation at a 7:30 on a Tuesday night. So if you could somehow tokenize that and utilize the NFT framework, and especially if we get into smart NFTs and of course make a marketplace for that, this opens up some very interesting things for restaurant operators in the future, much less the content aspect from recipes, the provenance of ingredients, all those kind of things that flow into that. Going into that space. So getting into the market size right now, valued at about 4.1 trillion by 2026, this is the food industry right here. Just to give you an example of how restaurants, food, all that could apply into NFTs. That's a $4.1 trillion industry, and we're looking at NFTs being 80 billion. I just don't think that's going to be the case. And that's not even addressing some of the big markets out there, gaming, obviously metaverse, retail, e-commerce, healthcare, hospitality, all those kind of things that really kind of move into that next layer. And even if you look at gaming and what that might look like, here for growth trends via gaming forecast, this is 2022 to 2027. And where I see this moving, we'll probably see gaming in the essence of around $200 trillion. So this $200 billion. Where I really think we're going to see this going is to somewhere in the range of a $5 to $10 billion or $1 trillion marketplace when you look at metaverse and gaming encompassed by itself. So the potential for NFTs, again, just explodes onto the scene as the tech starts to really advance, much like what Phantasma is doing with smart NFTs and kind of the evolution of where that type of component and instrument from the blockchain becomes something huge down in the future. All right, we're going to get to a bunch of your questions, try to cover up a couple more polls maybe if we get a chance, and then take a look at some other projects as well. I want to show you guys the top projects. Let me jump over to our CPI ranking right now on just the NFT platforms themselves and projects. So this is our current, so SLP ranked out the highest again, right here, SLP at 79.33, 80.12. This, of course, is data from today. So this is midweek. Gala jumping up again, 78.61 and at 80.27. So again, higher amplification. Red Fox jumping up. These are ones that we've pulled out that we noticed heavy movement and a pretty decent, I won't say volatility, but definitely movement within it. Polka City also jumping out at 77.24 and a 74.21. And then Super Farm showing up also in one of our trending topics for the week for NFT platforms at 76.59 and 71.33 on AMP. Again, you can get all this data, a lot of these kinds of insights over on the Crypto Power Index. Make sure and just click the link below if you want access to those. All right, let's jump into some questions. Why is Axie's Love Token doing so well? All right, so there's a lot happening with Axie in the essence of them trying to reformat their whole economy. The problem with the economy for Axie, which was causing just ridiculous inflation in the SLP. And that was causing a problem within the economy of the Axie game. And it was causing game players to start to slow down in terms of adoption. Axie identified this. We did a really good interview with Sky Mavis's co-founder, Alexander, and he really kind of boiled down into this whole issue, is that they had to reformat how this economy was going to work. So they've come out, we actually did a video on this. So I would suggest take a look at the video, because I'm going to give you a kind of a summary. They've basically went in and redesigned the economy, which is going to drive the valuation of Smooth Love Potion up, because they've eliminated the use case and or the ability to get it by a lot. And because of that, it's going to create some limited supply, hence valuation of SLP is going up. All right, so do you take profit along the way to reinvest, or are you more long-term holds? I take profit along the way on almost every project, including Bitcoin and Ethereum. The issue with games, a little bit more volatility, I shouldn't say a little, a lot more volatility, especially in the low cap projects or the gems. Those I take almost immediately. I rarely am in a project for more than 30 days, and in some cases only a week or 10 days, because I'm watching the sentiment data come in. I'm really tracking against that along with price action, and I apply that to just our general research here, and that usually gives me some guidance on how to trade in and out. But that's the way I do it. Not necessarily no financial advice, but this is what I do. The bigger tokens I hold longer and look for more big shifts in the market, as opposed to what I see in Metaverse, gaming, NFT projects, some platforms around NFT, and then of course the low caps or the gems, much more frequently trading. And a lot of times I'll buy, sell, then rebuy that token. Again, Axie is a good example. I've bought Axie all the way up when it was moving to almost $200, and then I bought a big bag again back in the $40 range when it hit the bottom. That's just good practice in terms of dollar cost averaging in projects that you might like. And it's also good practice anytime you see major dips start to occur, because this is not going away. We know that now. And I think a lot of people are much more comfortable in moving those kind of tactics. All right, here we go. Let's go, Desiree. Watched your interviews debating between Division, Zilliqa, Wilder World. Your thoughts? Okay, so Division, definitely a very interesting. We're going to have them on the show soon. But Division, very interesting metaverse. Zilliqa, a lot of promise right now on Zilliqa. I will just be upfront with you. We have not seen what Sandra and her team is telling us. They talk a big talk, and we like the fact that they're open with us, or as open, I guess, as they can be. But I think they have to start delivering. And of course, they've only really been throwing out kind of due dates here recently. But the key with any blockchain project, especially in Metaverse, and especially because it moves so quickly in Metaverse, you kind of have to lock and load on those and deliver. If they do deliver those, Zilliqa could be very dangerous in a good way. As far as Wilder World, still looking at that, it's in and out. And again, too long for me. Because of some of the milestones they've missed. And I'm just looking for projects that are showing, consistent achievement level growth, and being able to give you a checklist and kind of just saying, okay, we got that done, we got this done. Those are the things I really look for. Gala is getting ready to pop. Man, this thing's been popping like crazy. It hit, it hit our top charts this week and was showing up last week. So it was in good position. I still like that project. It's still underpriced. Nostalgia Fields TV. NFT use on play to earn should survive if play to earn gets adopted. I think is what you're saying there. I would agree for that, but I do believe, and this may not be the cycle in which it happens, but I do believe that we are going to see NFT adoption in some major industry application. And it may not necessarily just be play to earn in Metaverse. It might be entertainment, content creators. It could be, I doubt that it would be medical, because I feel like medical is going to take some time. Also could be in the retail space. I feel like retail and fashion might be the hot zone where it could occur, meaning a major adoption and or curve in a major fashion brand or a major retailer that could move this quickly. Things like maybe even something like an Apple or someone like that, even though there's arguments around Apple and the closed wall garden and whether or not you could ever even create an NFT inside that. Check out the Wax video. You're going to like that one because that gets into a lot of that. No hate from the Okomi crowd, just so you guys know. When we had Wax on, I'm not agreeing with him in any way. I don't agree. I'm asking questions in many cases, but the point is he was trying to really go into where NFTs were going. And then we're getting off tangent here, but yeah, interesting stuff. King Cosmo. Paul, how high does Bitcoin reach on this pump cycle? Okay, so we had an analysis here this last Monday. We'll do another big TA analysis this coming Monday. And our point, Evan and I both, in 3 weeks ago, we were pointing towards around a 50 to 55K potential. Now, what does that look like for the long term? Evan's analysis has been pointing toward around an 80K Bitcoin, and that could happen by May, is what his analysis show based on what we're tracking. If you look at sentiment, which has been climbing back up and had a really sharp decline, and we've seen some other sides of the market start to go with it, so that's kind of interesting, and it's good bullish signs. So right now, I'm still leaning in bullish on where it might go. Metaverse tokens, very volatile. Yes, they are very volatile, absolutely. And then, of course, if you guys have not checked out Sol, I know there were some more questions on that. Make sure and get with them. Listen, here's the thing with making sure you guys are around on our drops of content and also getting the insights that we're doing within the Diamond Circle. One thing you need to do is join the Diamond Circle because we're going to be doing a giveaway, and I think we're going to just schedule it for Monday next week and just promise you guys that's when we're going to do it. So I'll just say it now. We're going to do a $1,000 giveaway on Monday. So it's going to give you some time to get involved. So if you've caught this video after the live stream, just jump to the link below right now. It's easy to join. It's an email, a little bit of information about you so we can actually transact with you in case you win. Because we only choose from the Diamond Circle when we do these digital asset drops like this. So we'll do Bitcoin and we'll send that out to you guys. We'll probably do 4 250s or 2 500s. Not sure. I'll talk to the Crypto Pit and see what they think for that. But we'll be doing that on Monday, so be on the lookout for the giveaway for the official launch of our CPI. We were giving it a week. We launched it last week. We're giving it another week to kind of really get some feedback, get the cycle of data going into it, and then she starts to run full stream, and we're going to celebrate that. So you guys listening on the podcast, get over here to YouTube, man. This is the place. It's the only place. And of course, you want to hit me out there on Twitter. It's going to be fun. @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.